welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions, brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Carrie.
What's up?
All right, guys, we're back. Let's talk about Mary Poppins Returns. Carrie, you had the luxury of seeing this.
I did.
You are a huge Mary Poppins original movie fan.
Yeah, the original Mary Poppins is like one of my top, it's that and Wizard of Oz are like my top two films.
I know you loved Return to Oz. Like, that's a classic.
We're not talking about that. I was Mary Poppins for Halloween in the first grade.
This is deep-seated for you.
I love Mary Poppins. So yeah, I was interested in seeing this.
Okay, so this is starring Emily Blunt, directed by Rob Marshall. Give us the premise of it and then your thoughts.
Sure. So it's now the original film takes place in 1910.
Okay.
This film takes place 20-something odd years later. It's in the 1930s. It's in what they are referring to as the Great Slump. And
not the Great Depression. That's fine.
And the Banks children are now grown. Michael Banks is now the father of 3 young kids. He's also a widower. And he is behind on payments on a loan that he took out in order to continue to be able to feed his family, and he basically mortgaged against the house. So now the bank is coming to take his house.
Oh, classic 1930s family drama.
Yeah, so
you're gonna die.
In comes Mary Poppins to help the Banks family once again, basically.
Okay. What did you think of this movie? Because you're making a face that lets me know you probably loved it.
I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it.
Okay.
So my issue is, I actually went back and I watched the original on Sunday night before the screener yesterday. Just as a refresher, because I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I'm really glad that I did, because boy, did it make obvious that Returns follows just the same roadmap of the original.
I figured that was probably likely.
But so closely to the point where I wrote it down on a Post-it note. So the story of both films is as follows. There's trouble at the Banks house. Mary Poppins arrives. She turns something boring into something fun in order to get the kids on her side. In the original, it's cleaning up the nursery, the spoonful of sugar sequence. In the Returns, it's turning bath time into this whimsical musical number. That is then followed by the animated sequence.
Wow.
Jolly Holiday, and then in the new one they go into this, basically a scene that's on like a porcelain bowl or something, which it's alive and there are animal characters. They visit an eccentric relative, that's Uncle Albert in the original. It's Cousin Topsy in the new one. The kids get into trouble at the bank. On the way home from the bank, there's an extended dance sequence featuring the male lead and the male ensemble cast. That's Step in Time in the original, and in the new one it's a lamplighter sequence. The children end up being scolded by their father. The children make up with their father. The conflict is resolved. And then there's a final musical number that involves flying something. In the original, it's Let's Go Fly a Kite. And in the new one, it's about balloons.
Wow. Okay. So if you liked the original Mary Poppins, you'll maybe like the remix?
The thing is, remix is absolutely the word I would use here. Because a lot of critics were like, they should have just called it a remake. And I'm like, it's not really a remake, but it is a remix of the original formula.
Mm-hmm. Planes, balloons.
Yeah.
New thing.
Yeah.
So it's not good? Is it offensive? Or is it because does the formula just work? So it doesn't really matter what you kind of threw there?
The formula works, but it's very much just like, so we're just going to follow all these steps. We're just following the recipe again, and we're going to see if it works. And it really highlights how much better the original film is in every conceivable way.
I mean, I would imagine it's really easy to compare them when it's step by step the exact same movie.
Yeah.
Where if it had gone on its own thing, you'd be like, well, maybe this thing didn't work, or this thing was like, oh, this was kind of a new, interesting take. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they just copied it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's kind of amazing. That's really lazy.
The original. In retrospect, it does seem sort of lazy. The music I think is fine, but nothing clicked with me in the same way that things in the original film clicked with me.
I imagine you were also very young then too.
Sure,
right? So that's
but I mean, look, the guy who wrote the music for this, I think his name is Mark Shaman. He's an established musical composer. He wrote the book for Hairspray on Broadway, among various other things. Like, he's an established guy. He's won a ton of awards, but he doesn't hold a candle to the Sherman Brothers.
Okay,
he doesn't, and he can get all the help from Lin-Manuel Miranda that he wants. But no, they're not the Sherman Brothers. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a terrific talent, and I'm sure will be having an influence on the entertainment industry for decades to come, but he is not Dick Van Dyke. Emily Blunt, I think, had the overall attitude and demeanor of what Mary Poppins should be, as sort of like no nonsense, but still whimsical, and sort of like this winking, like, she's magic, she's a magical nanny. She's a witch.
Yeah, never gloss over that.
But I mean, I think what was really lacking was like, it lacked the sort of warmth and the sort of soul of the original. And I don't want to say like, it's a soulless remake, but it
kind of sounds like it was. It's a soulless remix is what it is.
Yeah, it's very much a remix that, of course, features a rap by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who apparently can't get through a 2-hour performance without rapping.
No, he's got to do that.
He's got to do that. And I really don't think it fit in the song that they have.
I've seen Hamilton. I'm going to allow it. Because it's kind of amazing. But he can't. Like, that's his thing. He's like, he's like itching. He's like, dude, I got it. Like, there's got to be a rap in this. Like, it's 1932.
Yeah.
Like, no, but we're going to.
Yeah. So it's visually spectacular. The animated sequence I thought was gorgeous. It's a beautiful movie. It's super family friendly while still having the sort of like little winks and nods to the original in, specifically referencing things from the original. You don't ever hear Let's Go Fly a Kite, but you do hear like the riff from that and the riff from Spoonful of Sugar. And the riff from...
So they're definitely aware. Yeah. They're making you aware of the previous movies.
Yeah, so it's just like the movie ended, and like I took my mom and we really sort of struggled to determine how we felt about it. And it was like I didn't dislike it in any sense of the word, but it went out of its way to stand in the shadow of the original, and I feel like it's worse off for it. Okay,
I think that's actually a very good way of saying that. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. What's your score?
3.5.
Okay, that's not bad.
I had a good time. I wasn't mad by watching it, but it didn't click with me in the way that
a special way. Mm-hmm. All right, there you go. 3.5 out of 5 for Mary Poppins Returns, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Bye. You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.